Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Guillemette Carlucci, and I am managing the executive programs on advocacy in international affairs. And it's a great pleasure to welcome and introduce Davide Rodogno, Director of the program, Professor of International History and Head of Interdisciplinary Programs at the Institute.
Welcome, good evening.
And Christophe Lécureuil, Senior Consultant and Lead Advisor for Advocacy Skills in the program.
Hi, everybody.
So the objective of this webinar tonight is to present the program and answer any questions you may have for us about the program. How will we proceed? First, we will provide you with a definition of advocacy and the focus of the program. We will talk about the program objectives, the teaching method and speakers, the program formats, the alumni and participants profiles, the assessments, why joining the program at the Graduate Institute, and then we'll have some time to answer the questions that you may have. And without further ado, I will now leave the floor to Christophe to present the definition of advocacy. Thank you, Christophe.
Thank you, Guillemette. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Perhaps important to define what we mean by advocacy. And I will start with the first point, which is around the act or the process of defending or promoting an idea, a person, a cause, a movement, a piece of legislation, a product, or a project. Advocacy aims at influencing specific audiences. There might be general public, your peers, influencers, decision makers, policy makers, donors, if you're seeking funds, within political, institutional, economic, social systems. Advocacy can be carried out by individuals, groups of individuals, public institutions, international organizations, NGOs, companies, trade associations, and the likes and the likes. Advocacy uses the tools and techniques available to influence perceptions, beliefs, or behaviors, and that will be an important point that we will develop in the course. And then advocacy can be multidimensional, meaning can be legal, political, emotional, multi-layered, using different channels of communications, and multi-jurisdiction from local to international. Interestingly, I don't know if you're aware of that, but in Brussels, there's something called the EU Transparency Register, which is a voluntary register for lobbyists and advocates there. And there is a definition which has been designed by the European institutions to cover advocacy and lobbying. And you see it's very wide because it says the scope of this register covers all the activities carried out with the objective of directly or indirectly influencing the formulation or implementation of policy and the decision-making processes of the EU, irrespective of where they are undertaken and irrespective of the channel or medium of communication used. So you see, this is very wide. Now, traditionally, we were looking at NGOs, governments, international organizations, and private sectors having very specific and distinct ways and objectives for advocacy. NGOs were looking at awareness raising, influencing legislation, accessing funds, putting pressure on organizations or private sectors, and et cetera, as you see on the slide. Governments were more around behavioral change, agenda setting, negotiation, legislation, enforcement, and private sector were more around brand reputation, customer retention, employee satisfaction, engagement, influencing legislation, accessing new markets. Now, what we're going through the course as well is to see that this is evolving, in particular because the issues that we are facing, all of us, are so complex that not one set of institutions or advocates can solve it all. So we're going also to analyze this in quite some details. Higher? No. Further. Okay. Thank you, Davide.
Please let us know. Please do let us know if it's better now.
Okay. Is it better?
Plus loin.
Plus loin. Okay. Thank you.
Try again.
Is it better now? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Next slide, please, Guillemette. One piece also that we're spending quite a lot of time on is the analysis of the environment and the actors. And one specificity of advocacy today and in the future is that we have a multiplication of actors from governments, administrations, policymakers, NGOs, civil society organizations, and self-appointed self-leaders and influencers as well. Multiple issues. We've put down 6 here, from health, agriculture, security to development, but you can probably add another 20 to that list and have sub-issues and another list of 20 into those sub-issues. So everybody believes that their issue is the most important. And one key aspect that we're covering in the course is how do you get your issue on the agenda that you're looking at? And how do you get that share of voice and share of action? And then there are multiple platforms, from the traditional ones, the institutions, then the ad hoc groupings that are emerging, informal exchanges, a lot of public-private partnerships being developed, and of course, digital channels, traditional media, etc. So there's a flurry of actors, issues, and platforms that you have to take into account. Presumably, you can't do it all because you're going to have budget restrictions. So that's what also we're helping people to understand is, what is the biggest bang for my money, which is available, and the staff that I have. So in summary, what we do in this course is not only look at what is shining, that is that top of the iceberg, because that's the easy bit, but we're not sure that we can understand everything. What is important for us is understand how you get to that shiny bit, which is below that surface, and how do you make sure that your advocacy campaign not only shines, but is effective.
Thank you very much, Christophe. And so now I'm going to give you some details on the academic side of things. So how we're going to get there where Christophe has just told us that we would like to be. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is to talk about the objectives of the executive certificate. The first thing that we do is to analyze the complex international context and web of actors. And to do so, we do have an awful lot of expertise in-house. We do have colleagues from international law, political sciences, anthropology, economics, history that will feed your reflection and our reflection and on this international context. It's going to be really important for us to help you to acquire the right mindset and the skills that are needed to manage in a successful way advocacy campaigns. There is an issue that has to do with leadership and leadership skills, and this is the reason why we privilege, on the one hand, individual work, but at the same time, we do pay attention to working in teams. And as we know, if you're interested in this work as advocate, this is absolutely crucial. And of course, we're going to pay attention to how we do communicate effectively. So the issue of communication is really at the center of so many parts of the modules that we do teach. And of course, measuring the outcomes is equally important. We explore advocacy initiatives on a wide range of global issues. These are the issues that the Institute is specialized in, from environment to global health, from agribusiness to human rights, from development to security, etc., etc., etc. And of course, one of the specificities of our certificate is also to build a network of advocacy practitioners, and they are systematically invited as guests during the first module and the second module. Teaching method and speakers. So the point of this certificate is really to focus on these hands-on intensive modules that provide participants with practical tools to advocate and make an impact at their organizational level. And we do blend in-depth analysis, academic analysis of global issues with applied practice. The modules are interactive, based on cases, team-oriented, and of course we do cherish this idea of having this exchange with you. So there are no lectures, and even when academic speakers are invited, this is done in an extremely interactive way. We do bring together academics, experts, policymakers, influential thinkers, and the point is precisely to provide you a number of different multiple perspectives on advocacy. We do care about this immersion at the center of global governance. This is Geneva, but increasingly we do open up because the last thing that we do want is to exceptionalize International Geneva. International Geneva is, of course, a very important center of global governance and international advocacy, but there are many other centers around the world, in Asia, in Africa, in the rest of Europe, in the American continent. And so we do review international advocacy campaigns. We have this focus on advocacy and lobby in Brussels and around the world. The program format. It is designed for mid to senior level professionals from all sectors and background. We are not very rigid, we are very open. We do seek for people that are motivated, that want to do this certificate for a reason, because they want to change their career, because they want to move up in the organizations where they work or the institutions where they work. And so this is, so we do have relatively young participants, but we do have also very senior participants as well. We do grant, we are a degree granting program, so there are what we call ECTS, so credits. And so in order for us to assess these credits, we do have to assess your work, and we do have an executive certificate in advocacy in international affairs. This is worth 15 ECTS. There is the possibility to apply for an executive master in advocacy and international affairs and policy making, which is worth 30 ECTS or upgrade within 3 years after the start of the program. And this is a very flexible learning journey. And you can talk with Guillemette. She will be ready to answer all your questions. There is this possibility to upgrade to a master of advanced studies, which is worth 60 ECTS within 5 years after the start of the first enrollment. The program formats now, we're going to talk about the executive certificates, which is the smaller version of it all. This takes place in 2 modules. The first module is going to take place from the 14th to the 17th of April, and then from the 28th to the 1st of May. This is a virtual classroom. We started last year because of COVID-19. The experience was extremely positive, and we decided to continue this year, which has plenty of advantages. And then module 2 is going to take place here in Geneva from the 22nd to the 30th of June 2021. And we do believe that this module with you present with us here is extremely important. For those of you that want to move to the Executive Master, there will be a 3rd module that takes place from the 6th of September to the 22nd of October 2021. And this takes place online. And similarly, module 4 takes place in Geneva from the 16th to the 26th of November 2021. Alumni and participants. As I told you before, we have a very heterogeneous group of students, of participants. The average age, if it matters, well, you have to know that it's around 39 years old, 40 years old. This next year is going to be our 10th year. So you guys are going to be our 10th cohort, and this tells you something about our experience. And as you can see in the slide, we do have, generally speaking, 1/3 of participants coming from international organizations, 1/3 coming from the non-profit civil society sector and organizations, 1/3 from business, from companies, and broadly speaking, the private sector. We do have a very diverse range of nationalities, from Switzerland to the rest of Europe, from Asia to increasingly African countries. And this has always been the case, and we had and we still have many students coming from Latin America, Central America, and North America. We do have small classes. This is something that we do on purpose. We do go from 15 to a maximum of 25 participants, and we do care about selecting, as I said, participants who are highly motivated. And I pass it over to Guillemette.
Sorry.
Sorry, assessments. Of course, this is an important question. Assessments, we do have an analytical paper. that has to be submitted a few weeks, several weeks after the end of the first module. So probably this would be in May. I know that this is a question that might be frightening or scaring for some participants that left university or academia many years ago. There is no problem. We are here to encourage you. We are here to support you in a number of ways. So don't be frightened by, seeing that you have to submit the paper. Whereas module 2 is the result of working in teams on basically setting up a campaign and then delivering and presenting it orally at the end of the module. And the final paper is a short paper based on module 2, but this will be done on an individual basis. So basically during module 2, you work in teams, and then you have the possibility for your final paper to expand individually on the topics that you've been working on during module 2.
Thank you, Davide. And I would like to present us and elaborate a little bit on why coming to the Graduate Institute. So 2 points here. The first one is that the Graduate Institute is an institution of higher education accredited by the Swiss government to deliver university degrees. So by joining the Graduate Institute, you will gain university credentials. And our institute is the only institution in Geneva with the University of Geneva that can deliver university degrees. So that's the first point. The second is that by joining us, you will develop your network. And we were founded in 1927 together with the League of Nations here in Geneva as the first Swiss school entirely dedicated to the study of world affairs. So you will have a privileged access to experts from these very diverse organizations that are in Geneva. So for example, we have here 30 international organizations, 250 NGO seats, 172 diplomatic missions, and 130 multinationals. So really an ecosystem that is really very, very interesting and very important if you are looking at international affairs and meeting people from all over the world. You will exchange with experts and participants from the very diverse nationalities and organizations. And you will join our alumni community of over 19,000 members located in more than 100 countries for executive education alumni only. You will, of course, benefit from all the services that we offer at the Graduate Institute as participants in a degree granting program, including all the resources from the library and alumni status, of course. And then we'll have access to all the conferences that we organize here online or in presential when the sanitary conditions will allow us to do so. So without further ado, I will conclude now the presentation.
And the floor is open for questions, comments, exactly. And I think we do already have one by Niba Ransom. I think it's for you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I have a master in civil procedures law. I am currently studying contract and arbitration. Can I apply directly for the executive master program? So yes, if you already have a master, so basically the requirements to apply for the programs are the following. You need to have a bachelor degree or an equivalent to a bachelor degree and several years of professional experience. So in your case, since you already have a master, yes, you can apply directly to the executive master program. Are there scholarships? So we have discounts that we offer for the programs. We are not in a position at Executive Education to offer scholarships, but we offer discounts. So the first discount is the early bird discount, which is as follows. If you apply, are admitted, and make a first deposit before the 15th of December, you will receive this discount. The second possibility for discounts that we offer is if you pay the full tuition fees before the 15th of March. And the third opportunity is if you apply with a colleague. And I will be pleased to put you everything in an email and send it to you after this webinar as well as the slides. but that's possibilities that can be interesting for you if you are looking at a reduction on the price of the program.
There is a second question, and I think you are also maybe the most appropriate person to reply to that one. May I ask, this is Julien Fellman, may I ask you to elaborate on the difference between the Executive Master and the MIS?
Yes, thank you, Julien, for this question. And there are 3 levels of degree in executive education in the Swiss higher education system. The first level is an executive certificate, 15 credits. That's the 2 modules version of the program. The second level is what is called a diploma of advanced studies, but we can also call it an executive master. And this is the title that will be on your degree, and that's the 4 modules. And the third level, which is the highest level, is the Master of Advanced Studies. So it's the highest level that you can get in the Swiss further education system, and it's worth 60 ECTS credits. So it's an equivalent to a 1-year full-time program, except that we organize it in a part-time way so that you can combine it with your professional experience. The difference is that it will give you a program which is equivalent to a master, a 1-year master, and it will give you the occasion to study more topics and further your studies in international affairs if you wish to do so after having completed the executive certificate or the executive master in advocacy in international affairs.
So there, first of all, Niba Ransom will wait for thanks and we'll wait for the mail. That's good.
With pleasure.
We have 2 questions from Samara. How do we choose the topics used for advocacy campaign or case study? Would you be able to use the case based on our work and working to advocate in regards to Apartheid Convention? Very interesting. And potentially starting a second campaign for indigenous rights. So I think I can answer to this question, and Christophe, you jump in. So first of all, thank you very much. And it's very interesting that to know that you're working on Apartheid Convention, and we do deal in terms of academic teaching and also advocacy on issues related to human rights and their most blatant violations. And so it's very interesting to know that there is a potential candidate interested in these kind of topics. Actually, what we do is precisely to put you very far away from your comfort zone, and we do it on purpose. So this is something that we do so that participants can see a different perspective, can sit where they usually do not sit. And if you have a capital of knowledge or an experience as a human rights campaigner, we will force you to see something different. And of course, when we do select the topics which we arbitrarily impose on our participants precisely to allow them to work in an ambit which is not what they are familiar with, we do pay attention. But of course, there are plenty of ways in which you can work on a topic like the one that you seem to be interested in your individual paper. And of course, in a number of exchanges that we can have together if you want to further your knowledge in that particular area. So in terms of teamwork, we have this strategy, and in terms of individual work, this is exactly where you can deepen your knowledge and work on a topic that you want to expand your knowledge on. Question 2, unless you want to add anything else. Okay, question 2, do we address the aspect of advocating with government? And I believe there is a government participant in such course. There are government participants in our courses. So there are diplomats, for instance, and there are civil servants, and there are people that have been working for state agencies with different capacities in the last 10 years. So we do address the aspect of advocating with government, and we do it a lot. And this is precisely what makes our certificate a very different certificates from other similar courses around the world. And so, yes, we do address it. You're very welcome. We do have a question. In the context of Brexit, how would it work for person living in the UK? So this is a question from Kia Sayer. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Of course, the first module takes place online. So the fact that you're based in the UK is not at all a problem. And of course, you will have to arrange for your staying in Switzerland for the duration of the second module of the certificate. Hope this answered the question. If I'm not clear, please ask a second question. And Syed, I have already done one module on advocacy as part of my MA in human rights. Will I get pre-learning credit or concessions for it? No, we generally do not give this kind of pre-learning credits or concessions for the certificate, because it would be very difficult for us to organize the learning, the modules, if somebody has got a credit or a concession for bits and pieces. So let's imagine for a second that we do have a guest or a professor teaching for half a morning on advocacy and human rights. Maybe you will have already all the knowledge that you need to have, but we still believe it is going to be useful for you to participate to that particular session, precisely because you have an extensive knowledge on it, which you can share with the professor, with the practitioners that will join us on that session. Julien Fellman. I just finished a master's degree in international relations. However, I have no experience in that field. I have 20 years work experience as a business owner in a totally different work area, music. Would the program still be relevant in my case? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. And this kind of diversity and heterogeneous background are super important to us. And your mixing of your master's degree in international relations will become extremely handy and important. It doesn't matter if it took place 20 years ago. Your business experience is very valuable to us. The fact that this is in music, it's a great asset. And so, yes, absolutely, we will cherish this. Nobody's asking you to be an expert in international relations, and many participants have no master's degree in international relations. So in terms of profile, what I learned from your message is that you definitely are an extremely interesting candidate for the certificate in advanced studies in international affairs. I hope we will see you soon. Jess Martin, does the policy paper have a quantitative analysis component, for instance, a decision tree or another tool used in international affairs? Oh yes, this is certainly a possibility. This is not an obligation. This is not compulsory, and we are very ecumenic in terms of the ways in which we let our participants design their first paper. And we never ask participants to drop their academic backgrounds. We ask them to appropriate it, to use it as long as they want to do so. We do not ask them to drop, or we do not force them to use quantitative analysis. Of course, the decision tree or any other tools are important. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, if I may add on that, we present to you a number of tools which are very practical, so that you can use them the next once you finish the course. You can really get on with your work if you want to work in advocacy. But one thing that we make very clear is that we don't have intellectual property rights on these tools. That is, if you can tear them apart, you can tweak them according to your organization, how it works, your personality as a person. So we don't want, the whole purpose of this course is actually to get rid of those very rigid frames and to open up your minds and to use the best of what you will pick with these tools, and use them as you see fit and how it best works for you.
We have a question from Sayed. How many modules do students need to complete to acquire master accreditation? Do you want to answer to this one? Okay.
I will be pleased to take it. So if you are referring to the executive master, meaning the diploma of advanced studies, so 30 credits, you need to complete the 4 modules which we presented. If you are referring to the master of advanced studies, 60 credits, which is the highest level, we have a very unique model here at the Graduate Institute, where we offer a very flexible learning journey, where you can receive a Master of Advanced Studies within a time frame of 5 years maximum. Of course, you can do it in a shorter time frame, but we give you up to 5 years to complete it from the first degree that you started with us. And you can choose also the programs that you want. So let's say you start with an executive certificate or an executive master on advocacy. Then you will receive 15 or 30 ECTS, and you will then need to complete these to arrive to 45 ECTS. So you can choose any of our programs to complete your 45 ECTS credits, so that it gives you a wide array of choices in terms of your interest in topics and skills that you want to develop. And then you will need to complete a 5-day course on transformative leadership and write a final project. And you will receive the master. So the format is very flexible. It also gives you the unique opportunity to work on a final project that is of interest to you for your career, and you will be coached by one of our professors, and you can also have an external advisor for your final paper and work on a topic that is directly applicable to you. And the format of the final paper is also very flexible. So you can take the time that you need within these 5 years to acquire your master.
There are a couple of other questions and comments. Do all students have access to online library of the Graduate Institute? Yes, of course. You will have access to our library online. And when you are in Geneva, you will have access to books, to the physical objects. And that's still a very good thing to take in your hands. Julien makes a point that his master is a new element. Well, that's even better. It's okay whether this was old or very fresh or very fresh or a new element. It is not a problem for us. For us, as I told you before, is really the combination of your professional experience with your background that seems to be really at the center of what we're looking for. Jess is happy to have benefits from learning tools. Yes. Will the modules in Geneva include any placement? This is always Sayed.
In general, we have many participants who join the program to change career or to find a position. So this is one of the reasons why participants are joining the program. And many participants do so very successfully after the program. We don't have directly any link with an organization, but what we provide you is the following. First, you will have skills and tools that are directly applicable for your professional life. Second, you will develop your network with your peers in class who are professionals working in very diverse organizations and diverse countries. And we are bringing in class experts who are there to also tell you about their organization and with whom you can network to have any advice or feedback on their organizations. And third, you will be working on an advocacy campaign, on a real advocacy campaign during the module. So you will learn hands-on how to do an advocacy campaign. And that's why so many of our participants successfully made a transition and found a position after the program.
And then the following question is from Valérie Babiz. Are every modules full-time every day? I would like to understand how much I can adjust with my current position while studying during daytime. So I can give you a very clear example. For instance, our first module, which is an online module, which is going to run from the 14th of April to the 1st of May. It will take place on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from the 14th to the 17th. We start at 9 a.m. Geneva time. We'll have a break at 12. We reconvene at 2, and we finish at 5:15. This is going to be like this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And the same thing the following week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We do not ask students or participants to study at the end of these very tiring days. The point is not for you to overburden you with further hours that you have to spend reading. And generally speaking, the very few readings that we ask you to do can be done weeks and weeks in advance. We are going to share with participants the timetable, the calendar, the readings, several weeks before the beginning of the module. So you will have time to do this before. We just want you to be there and to participate in the most active way and to be aware of the kind of topics that we will be dealing with during the first module. As to the second module, the structure is pretty much the same, with the difference that you will be spending your entire day in Geneva, and this will be from the 22nd of June to the 25th of June. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday the 26th we are going to continue, Monday the 28th, Tuesday the 29th, and we're going to end on the 30th of June. We are going to start again at 9 and we're going to finish at 5, at around 5. But of course, the internal structure of the second module is very different because we ask participants to work on their campaign. So there will be time for you to work together under the supervision of Christophe and myself. Do you want to add anything else?
If I may add on that, we also understand that as busy professionals, you may have last-minute meetings that you have to attend. So we have an attendance policy whereby you have to attend 80% of the program, but we have a flexibility of 20%. So if you have an urgent meeting to attend, or there is the possibility to do that. So we perfectly understand that, and so, yes, you will have to take days during those days off during the modules, but otherwise, the module is also very flexible. I know that our participants also take time during the lunch break, for example, to make some phone calls or connect with work. So that's also a possibility.
Niba is asking, one course is how many credits and are there clinic courses? I can give you the example of the certificate in international advocacy. The credits are 15, and the 15 credits encompass the first module and its assessment, the assignment, sorry. The second module and its a collective assignment plus the individual assignment that follows it. At the end of this module, you will get your 15 ECTS. And then there is the possibility for you to do the executive master and then the master of advanced studies. And for each of those, you will go from 15 to 30 credits and then from 30 to 60 credits. The clinics, so this is really the language of the lawyer that I think you are, because I think you asked the question before. We do not have clinics as such, but many of the things that we do are not completely different from clinics. I'm not an expert, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that so many of the things that we do are really conceptually not very different from clinics. We do have another question, unless you want to add. May I know about the course and the fee in detail? I don't know if you want to take this one.
Yes, and I will be pleased. I saw that you posted your email address, and I'll be very pleased to follow up and send you the information by email afterwards.
Okay. Well, are there any further questions or comments? The email line and the telephone line and Guillemette and ourselves are here at your disposal. If you have any comments or anything else that you wish to discuss bilaterally, you know where to find us. Thank you very much, Niba. It was a pleasure.
one thing I may add before we conclude is that you are warmly invited to join our next webinar, which will be a content webinar on advocacy in times of pandemics with Davide and Christophe, and it will take place on Wednesday, 16 December from 12:30 to 1:30. So you are warmly invited to join that, and I will include in my email an invitation to that event. I will follow up after that webinar with the slides that I shared, and any individual question that you asked, I will be very pleased to reply by email.
Thank you, Catherine, for your comment. That's much appreciated. And if there are no further questions or comments, we thank you very much for your time and for your interest. And we really hope that we will see you in March, April 2021.
And we wish you all a very nice evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.